I stood up on the second try. That's a record. Okay. Wow, this is a big group. I see Jerry Silbert way in the back, so it can't be that big. What I'm going to be talking about is a combination of standards, curriculum, teaching, and evaluation. That's what it's all about. That's what instruction is all about. Standard, curriculum, teaching, evaluation. Say that with me. Get ready. Standards, curriculum, teaching, evaluation. What's the first one?
Standards.
What's the next one?
Curriculum.
What's the next one?
Teaching.
What's the last one?
Evaluation.
You got it. In the current system, these educational components are buzzwords mostly. I mean, talk about the curriculum, it's pretty loose. You talk about teaching, it's even looser. You talk about standards, and then there's some continuity because there are printed standards somewhere. But when properly sequenced, these become fairly powerful tools if you start at the beginning and take it through a step at a time. And here we go. Standards. If this sequence was properly implemented, teachers would have effective curricula, students would learn all skills described by the standards, the educational system would be highly sensitive to inappropriate standards, ineffective curricula, and inadequate professional development. Unfortunately, this is not the case. That somewhere along the line, the standards get mushed up, and the curriculum gets mushed up, and the teaching gets really mushed up. And the evaluation is like, who cares at that point? Because you're not testing anything that's pure. You're testing a poor approximation of teaching. So we want to fight these things, the inappropriate standards, the ineffective curricula, and the inadequate professional development. But those are three mountains. So let's begin with the standards. Yep, there it is. Standards provide the most general statements of what you will teach. Standards don't tell anything about the process of the teaching details. Standards tell only about desired outcomes. Students will yada, yada, yada. Students will yada, 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 yada. I mean, that's a more complicated standard. And the standards preempt or circumscribe the curriculum and the teaching and the evaluation. Like, how are you going to have a curriculum if you don't have some kind of standards? What's the curriculum? Well, the curriculum has stuff in it. Like what? Well, it's got a math problem here, it's got a little reading here, it's got songs in the middle, many songs, good ones, some church songs, some regular songs. And what is it? Like, well, the technical term is a mess. And that's what you need standards for, to say what the outcomes will be. What will the students learn? It doesn't say how they're going to learn it generally, but how will their behavior change? And the Common Core Standards is an attempt by what we call the establishment, when we don't want to use cuss words, to provide standards. But they're really, well, the technical term is icky standards. Icky. Not sticky, just icky. But standards provide the most general kind of statements about what you're going to teach. And they don't tell about the process. And they predict the curriculum and the teaching and the evaluation. So we have the Common Core standards, and there are many problems with them. And we'll talk a little bit about them, but they're just an egregious mess because they were made up by people who have apparently no understanding of what it is to teach kids, how difficult some things are, or what kids should learn at particular grade levels. So we have big problems with standards. Okay, and standards predict the curriculum. The curriculum translates standards into specific instruction. I mean, that makes sense. A fifth grade curriculum provides details about what's to be taught in the fifth grade and when things are to be taught. This is important information. And if it's clean information, good information, the teaching, that's what we're heading for, is the teaching. The teaching will be adequate or superior. It will be effective in teaching kids the things they know or should know. And the teaching translates the curricula into specific activities, explanations the teacher provides, questions the students answer, practice applications specific enough to teach properly placed students all key concepts, information, and relationships. Now that's a big order. Wow. And to do that, you have to be very sensitive to what the kids know, because you can't go a light year beyond what they know. You have to go right at the limit of what they know and build that limit and build that limit and build that limit. I mean, it's pretty simple in principle. In actual application, it becomes quite complicated. That the explanations the teacher provides, the questions students answer, and practice and application specific enough to teach properly placed students all the key concepts, information, and relationships they're supposed to learn for that particular curriculum. I mean, all, not just some, not just a sample. And of course, we have a kind of a mockery in terms of how the Common Core standard presents standards and what they are. I mean, it's not what it should be. It's not workable, and it won't work. And then the final one is an evaluation. The ideal evaluation tests every important detail the teacher taught and the students are expected to learn. Ideal evaluations provide current information about student performance, students who are not at mastering specific skills, and how to fix student or teacher performance problems. Wow, okay. So here with the evaluation, this is what we're going to live by ultimately. Like, how'd that program work? I don't know. Let's look at the evaluation. And we look at the evaluation, and what do we see? If we don't see items that really test what the kids have learned, we're going to, we don't need this information. We need to know what they learned in terms of what they were supposed to be taught. And if that information is there, but the kids didn't do well, wow, well that tells, this is all very basic stuff. What's sad about it is it's not used. It's not incorporated in what is done. That the headings are good, and then when you get down to the actual applications, nothing happens. Nobody sees to it that the standards, the curriculum, the teaching, and the evaluation are coordinated. Nobody sees that the curriculum has to be consistent with kids at a particular grade level. You can't just put any old standard in there, like a 5th grade standard in the 1st grade. Who would do anything that dumb? Who else? Okay. The evaluation. The evaluation follows from everything else. The relationships are logical. The curriculum teaches students to meet the standards, performance problems, reveals specific material in the curriculum that was not mastered, and the remedies are simple. Bring the kids to mastery. There's nothing very circuitous or mysterious about this process if it's kept that way. But with respect to the evaluation, most schools rely on high-stakes tests for evaluating student performance. These tests do not provide timely information. Often they are not available to schools for months. And then the results provide no specific information about how to fix kids who are below grade level in performance. Most district standards, curricula, high-stakes evaluations are disconnected, so performance problems on tests don't reveal specific information about fixing any of the above. I mean, then what good is the evaluation? What is the evaluation designed to do, or what should it ideally do? It should indicate the extent to which kids are learning or mastering what they should learn. Like years and years ago, the idea was to use these tests that were on the curve, put them on a damn curve. And the idea was, we don't expect everybody to do anything. We expect a distribution. And in that distribution, there are strong, medium tendencies, and then it peters out at the end. No, we don't want that curve. We hate that curve. That curve is not education. It's anti-education. It shows you didn't teach, you taught the hell out, or somebody taught the hell out of these kids. And then these kids are kind of all over the place. And all of these, weren't taught at all. What kind of a deal is that? So the evaluation has to provide information about what we're doing wrong and what we need to fix it up. And it needs to be timely. We don't need it 2 years from now. We need it right now. We need to know what our 3rd graders are doing so we know how to fix them. And, excuse me, the current evaluation don't even operate that way. It's not even in that ballpark. Like in a sensible system, if either a standard or curricular are improper, the teaching will be improper for some appropriately placed students. To accommodate a standard that is too sophisticated for a grade level, the grade level curriculum must change, teaching must change, testing must change. That's if we want to teach kids. If we want to just go through the motions, all we do is just do it by the numbers. These kids don't know it, those kids don't know it, these kids know it right here. Okay, well, good for you. And sorry, guys. It happens. It happens. With the emphasis on it. Okay. To accommodate a standard that is too sophisticated for a grade level, the grade level curriculum must change, the teaching must change, the testing must change. I mean, you don't have a choice on that. It has to be that way. And if you don't face that, you're not facing the big problems. Okay, there's a lot of talk about standards, curriculum, teaching, evaluation. Let's get concrete. Common Core Standard, our favorites. We'd love to kill them all. I mean, dead, but very tortuous means. But here is one. Here's one you can take to the bank. Produce and expand complete, simple and compound, declarative, interrogative, imperative, and exclamatory sentences in response to prompts. What's prompts? Say this sentence, blah, blah, blah. No. Other prompts. I mean, is that a bad standard or is that a bad standard? I don't know. I mean, some kids could do that, right? It's like, huh? Yeah, what grade level? What grade level is this? Here, time out. Well, what grade level would you think this would be? Pick a grade level. Come on, you got 1 through 5. Go for it. What would be appropriate for the standard? 4 or 5? Who says 4 or 5? Me? Okay. Oh, wow. Yeah, because some of the things that must be, what are some of the things that must be taught to prepare students for meeting this standard? If they're to be working with compound, declarative, interrogative, I hope these are not all in one sentence. That'd be really bad. But to prepare students for meeting this standard, we'd have to teach them about different kinds of sentences. This is a regular sentence. He went to the store. This is a compound sentence. He went to the store and bought something. No, that's not. You need a subject and a predicate for it to be compound. He went to the store and he bought something. Yes, that's a compound sentence. You can have but in there too. And you might even have a compound sentence. This is probably a little much, but you could have, he went to the store and he bought some things, but he forgot to buy the main thing he went to the store for. Spelled F-O-U-R, no. What are some of the things that you'd have to teach to prepare students for this standard? They'd have to know what the difference between some kinds of sentences, like simple and compound. Yeah, I think they would have to know that. And would they have to know declarative? Oh my gracious! Not that kind of declarative. That would be imperative or exclamatory anyhow. But you'd see a whole bunch of stuff they would have to be taught, right? Even if they were grade appropriate. But we haven't said what the grade level is for this standard. And what was the general consensus? Grade 4 or 5? Grade 4 or 5. Are you ready for this? This is a grade 1 standard. Grade 1, you know those little guys who sometimes don't remember to put periods or capitals or all the words in the sentence? Well, those guys are going to produce and expand complete, simple, and compound declarative, interrogative, imperative, and exclamatory sentences in response to prompts. And I think that the ultimate prompt will be, listen, he went to the store, say that much. And then he went back home. Say that much. Say the whole sentence. Those are prompts that might do it. But can you imagine teaching that crap to first graders? I mean, we're talking about let's clean up the act here a little bit. Given the standard is for grade 1, think of what you'd have to do in your curriculum to teach. Do we teach words like declarative, compound? I hope not. We wouldn't have to, but for them to even do the task, they would have to know a lot about sentences, sentence types, and how to analyze the parts of speech in sentences. Well, we have a subject right there. We could bring him up here and do some work right now. Nah. But what percent of the students in grade 1 would you estimate could master the skills implied by teaching that thing? I mean, just in other words, how stupid on a 10-point scale is this damn standard? I would say it goes all the way. I'd say it's a 10. A 10 in stupidity. To guarantee student performance improvement, there are simple formulas. Use standards that describe achievable performance outcomes. Select the best curricula that teach students how to perform on reasonable standards. Train teachers to teach selected curricula effectively, and use information from the evaluation to provide training for inadequate teaching, revise or replace inadequate curricula. And I mean, that's it. It's a long way to go, but what's totally sick about this is that they would put out a standard like that and have, ordinary, bright, good-willed people have to expose kids to that kind of mayhem where they couldn't possibly understand what it's all about, and the teachers would have no clue as to what prerequisite skills would have to be taught to prepare the kids so that they could be taught. And the rules that are presented on this page are probably where we ought to be. We're not going to teach anything that's unreasonable, and we're going to use information from evaluation to provide training for inadequate teaching, and we'll revise or replace inadequate curricula. But we'll only change things that need to be changed. And if we just stick to this kind of down-home and simpler format, it's not simple-minded, it's reasonable, it's doable, it's achievable, and it will teach the kids. So that's where we should be in our head and in our mind and in our values, that we should not, and I'm not advocating, mayhem, maybe a little June ham or July ham, but no mayhem. We should let these folks know that they need to work from norms about what kids have learned or are capable of learning before they fashion their standards. And on that note, I'm out of here. Thank you. Thank you.